Hello YouTube. I'll tell you today about the stars that disappear from the sky forever and the study of a meticulous scientist who turned astronomy upside down and that no one can explain this phenomenon. Some say the stars were eaten by aliens, or that aliens fly on them, or the luminaries turned into a stream of neutrinos. And all these hypotheses are being considered seriously in the 21st century, in the year 2024. Question to you, ladies and gentlemen. Are the stars up there the same today as yesterday? Did the same stars illuminate sky over ancient Judea, Greece, and Rome, over ancient China, over ancient Africa, and so forth? No, they disappear. At first, people noticed the loss of 100 stars, and now it is precisely established that 800 stars are missing. And in general, there are already 150,000 objects in the search. Maybe they'll find them, or maybe not. A new hypothesis suggests that stars can turn into invisible neutrinos at lightning speed. But the evidence is shaky, and the hypothesis that it is the work of aliens so far looks more reasonable. So where did they go, those stars, you can ask? Well, when the Russian journalist I often mention, Arsuhin, attended an astronomy club in his youth, his teacher said, old photographs of the sky are the most valuable thing astronomy has. We can see what the stars looked like 100 years ago. Those were golden words, but in reality, no one thought to rummage through the archives. And some observatories have completely destroyed ancient photographic plates because there is nowhere to store them. But a team of researchers led by Beatrice Villaroel from the Institute of Theoretical Physics in Sweden decided to do the dreary work. So they had excellent pictures taken in the old days with powerful telescopes, high-quality optics, dark sky, no interference like modern satellites, and modern reviews containing tens of millions of objects, a computer to help with the task. So all they needed to do was to sit and compare. And it immediately became clear there are fewer stars in the sky. Scientists began to publish their results, and problems ensued. Problems began. And criticism, of course. The articles would not be accepted for publication from their team, and the data storage places closed their doors. But Beatrice, she's a brave woman. She has reached the end. She pushed on. Today the problem is being discussed by the entire scientific community, and it is recognized as the main challenge of modern astronomy, from what I understand. Because it shouldn't be like this. We know, or we think we know, the evolution of stars in every detail. Stars exist for billions of years, and they disappear with explosions that are hard to miss. But to disappear just like that, and not one star, but hundreds and even thousands? Fantasy. To be fair, Beatrice has done everything to make the scientific community hate her. She's a brave lady. Looking at photos from April 12, 1950, from the Palomar Observatory, the team noticed 9 objects that had not been there before and have not been detected since. So the team of scientists have ruled out all possible natural causes, namely dust on the photographic plates themselves and on the glass cover of the scanner, illumination by cosmic radiation, damage to the photographic plate by distance from the observatory, atomic bomb tests, the human factor, The astronomer, while photographing, lit a cigarette or sneezed and splattered the photographic plate. Please evaluate the level of scientific meticulousness. Indeed, one day an astronomer lit a cigar with a match with a potassium, and potassium was discovered in the spectra of distant galaxies. Did anybody sneeze around those photos? It also happened that many people have allergies in the spring, and the explosions of nuclear bombs in 1945 spoiled a batch of Kodak astronomical plates at the factory, tens of thousands of kilometers from the event. The batch had to be recalled, and a special hood was installed at the factory. How much work and painstaking work is behind the phrase scientists have established. It's even scary. They did hard work. So realizing that there were no natural causes, Beatrice and her colleagues took and linked these 9 objects to the UFO raid on Washington in 1952, the so-called Washington Carousel. The Washington Carousel, one of the most massive cases of surveillance UFO that occurred from July 12 to July 29, 1952, over Washington. That is, they assumed that an armada of alien ships was flying to Earth. On April 12, 1950, it was photographed, and 2 years later, it flew to us and made quite a stir. And 2 years later, So you can talk endlessly about the Washington Carousel. UFOs were detected by radars. Hundreds of people saw them. Professor Harry Truman, using the phrase, ran around the White House and demanded to kick the aliens' asses, according to the Russians anyway. Of course, later the signals on the radars were declared temperature anomalies, and the eyewitnesses, of course, they were prone to fantasies. Beatrice was also hounded, but in the end, the article appeared, and not just anywhere, but in the journal Nature, and there's an inconspicuous phrase there. Among the possible reasons is reflection from objects in geostationary orbit. That's just that in 1950, there was nothing earthly in geostationary orbit, nothing from our planet. The USSR has not launched its first satellite yet. Here is an excerpt from the report. Airplane strobes can flash fast, but they also are accompanied by continuous lights that leave streaks. 9 high-altitude fireflies will doubtfully all flash synchronized in time and motion. However, rotating geosynchronous satellites or debris may produce short, sub-second glints with the observed amplitudes. In fact, most of the very short-lived transients are satellites. One of the key signatures of small metallic objects with flat reflective surfaces orbiting our Earth in geosynchronous orbits is the presence of multiple very fast and bright glints within the same field of view within a few minutes from each other. Many objects only glint once or twice. Others can leave several glints along a line. The only problem with this scenario is that no satellites are known to have existed prior to the Soviet-made Sputnik in 1957, 7 years after the appearance of the transients in the 1950 POSS-I image. Finally, we know that the fact that we have 9 simultaneous transients is inconsistent with any well-known natural explanation. This points towards 2 possible but not unique explanations. The first is high energy contamination of the photographic plates, most likely by radioactive particles. In the epoch of time when many atomic bomb tests were carried out in the United States and in the Soviet Union, this is not an unreasonable explanation, as the Palomar Observatory in California is not located far from the testing sites in Nevada. However, since no official atomic bomb tests were carried between 1949 and 1951, which means during the exposure of the plate and during its storage time, since plates were normally developed in the same night as the observation, we may also consider an alternative astronomical explanation. We believe the mystery of the simultaneous transients is a detective story worthy of the attention of the astronomical community, exploring 9 simultaneously occurring transients on April 12, 1950. So they left that phrase in Nature, and that publication was like an indulgence. They stopped poisoning, so to say, and everyone took up their heads. In fact, what's going on? The 1950 incident is the only one of its kind, so that there would be no stars before and there would be no stars after. Usually the team captures old, well-known stars that are out and disappear. In 2019, when the topic was finally recognized by scientists, there were 100 lost stars. But another 150,000 stars are now under suspicion. You already understand how thoroughly everything is checked. Now the number of the missing stars is exactly 800. Most likely, almost all the 150,000 will fall into this category. And most likely, the stars continue to go out massively right now. And it needs to be explained somehow. Professor Dirk Schulze-Makoch writes bluntly, of course, it is more correct to explain everything by natural causes. But in my opinion, there are too many anomalies to interpret as natural phenomena. Perhaps we're seeing signs of the work of advanced civilizations. His article appeared in the Journal of the Smithsonian Institution and became a milestone. Now it is possible to talk about aliens on the pages of peer-reviewed publications. The Dyson sphere immediately comes to mind. That is a kind of stone sphere that civilization builds around the star to intercept all its energy, the scientist argues. Maybe only he, Schulze, established a long time ago that such spheres cannot be gravitationally stable. They will fall apart. At that time, Schulze did not yet know the two at once. Other teams of astronomers unrelated to Beatrice had already discovered several dozen such spheres, and by completely different methods, which only increases the value of their research. However, there is no contradiction. A careful reading of Schulze's work shows that he was analyzing a full-fledged stone sphere, and it will indeed fly apart quickly. And astronomers have apparently found something like grids, open-work structures the size of the solar system. The star's light is partially intercepted, but the star is visible from this side. Such grids can exist. But Dyson spheres in the form of grids or as form of satellites do not belong to our topic at all. For an outsider, the star does not disappear, only dims. And Beatrice has a complete dissolution in the depths of a black space. Since there is something wrong with the Dyson sphere, Schulze suggested that the missing stars are giant starships, not near Earth, but their location unknown. An intriguing question: where are the missing stars? Are they there, just not shining, or have they flown away? If they have flown away, they may be huge starships the size of a planet, he writes. Beatrice herself, meanwhile, suggests that the stars are eaten. The aliens took and destroyed an entire star and spent all the substance for good, hopefully, purposes. To prove it, Beatrice is looking for clusters of vanished stars. It is reasonable to assume that aliens in search of matter will arrive rather in a cluster where there is a lot of this commodity. So our miners, so to say, go immediately to where there is a deposit, formations, and do not look for grams of gold or uranium all over the planet. Beatrice has not published the results yet, maybe she has discovered something. I must tell you that in my videos, for example, about Central Asia and uranium mines, you can see what's going on near the Lake Issyk-Kul. You can see much more. And by the way, I have made a few years ago a video about disappearing stars too, looking at it from completely different angle. But let's continue. This task of science, however, is to explain everything by natural causes. Although what could be more natural than another civilization? You can ask, and you will be right. And an article by scientists from their University of Copenhagen was recently published in the journal Physical Review Letters. Yes, they offer a natural mechanism, but such that wows you. Maybe it's better to believe in aliens. So we know that stars flare up when they run out of nuclear fuel, even our sun. It is small. Therefore, it will not turn into a black hole, but it will shrink to the size of the Earth. Can you imagine what kind of cataclysm it will be? And if the star is big and the result is a black hole, there is such a flash that half the galaxy is impacted. So the Danes believe that stars can turn into black holes quietly, without flesh and dust. After explosions, after all, there are nebula. Some can even be viewed with binoculars. Everything that we think should sparkle and flare turns not into light but into neutrinos. And within neutrinos, what is the demand? They're not visible. As proof, they cite a system in a distant galaxy where it seems to have happened. But the scientists then say, we have not observed the moment of transformation into a black hole in this galaxy ourselves. We see that there is a black hole there, but there are no traces of how it exploded. And we don't see any neutrinos from there. They have already theoretically calculated that neutrinos can be emitted. And we end up with a patchwork of indirect observations and slightly far-fetched theory. In general, the attempt is excellent. Neutrinos on the radar right now, these particles, which have almost no mass, pass freely through everything, are difficult to register, and even claim to be the notorious dark matter. So they're studied very intensively. And maybe indeed it happens in space. But just one question. Where is the evidence that all the disappeared or vanished 800 stars became black holes and released neutrinos? Have we seen this in neutrino detectors? Are we seeing signs of black holes where the stars were? All the answers are no, so not yet. So the Russian journalist Arsuhin, who studied it too, said, what would I do in Beatrice's place? And maybe she does. I would try to connect the disappeared stars spatially. It is clear that this is not easy to do. We do not always know the distances to them, but we would understand, are they disappearing in some compartment of the galaxy, or are they everywhere uniformly? Astronomers talk a lot amongst themselves. For example, many people begin to believe that the world is a simulation, and maybe it just starts disappearing, this simulation. And this wall of darkness, the wall of nothing, is moving towards us. Someone had the resources to keep the picture on the monitor. Resources have run out. Has someone turned off the processor? The playing field began to melt, not instantly at the speed of light, of course. Our civilization loves itself so much that as soon as we find something strange in space, we say, this is another civilization like ours or more powerful. An intelligent being, a human being, is the center of being for us. Or maybe it's not. Maybe the real mind is beyond planets, stars, starships, and radio signals. Anyway, disappearing stars are, of course, the cutting edge of modern science. The God tells us that incredible discoveries are waiting for us. I think you all feel it. The fact that highly developed civilizations can manipulate their stars and not only build Dyson spheres has already become a commonplace idea of modern science. So Terry Rudolph from Imperial College of London believes that aliens signal to each other by changing the glow of their stars, which is logical. Rather than building a colossal radio station, here is a star nearby shining brightly and all for free. Aliens have learned how to quantum entangle stellar photons and encode messages, he believes. From the outside, it looks like a flicker. So the universe is full of signals. We just don't pick them up. And at the Carnegie Institute, they decided that aliens build their planets in the form of geometric shapes. And these are their signals. Interestingly, after the appearance of their article, apparently they actually found a system in which the planets are arranged in an impossible harmonic sequence. So this is only the beginning, and I'll bring you more information about this, more ideas about aliens out there, if they exist, what they would look like, and more. Because I continuously do my research and look for open sources. If you like my research, please support me through the links you will find in the description to this video. Please like my videos, subscribe to my channel, and tell others about my work and my ideas. Thank you very much for watching my videos.